big. All right. Thank you so much for spending a little time with me today. So I'm Amy Lang and I'm with Birds and Bees and Kids. And this is a quickie for pros. Just a couple things. I'm going to try and stick to half an hour. I will hang out. We'll be done at in a half an hour, and then I'll hang out for 10 minutes and answer some questions if you'd like. So if you need to skedaddle, you can skedaddle. You'll get a recording. I just want to acknowledge a couple of things. I use she, her pronouns. I am well aware that I am a white woman. I'm married to a man. I'm a parent. I am educated. I'm secular. I'm liberal. Did I say that I'm American? And all that's going to show up while I'm teaching today. I really make an effort to be aware of those things because I'm fully aware that they impact my perspective on the entire world and even on sexuality. So for those of you who have not hung out with me before, I'm a sexuality educator and I'm also a parenting educator. And this portion of my work is focused on helping folks who work with children understand sexual behavior in children, what's normal, what's not, and how to handle it and how to identify potential signs of child sexual abuse. The other thing is that I'm going to be working very hard to use they, them pronouns, but I'm probably going to use he, she because it's just for clarity, and little people really are very like binary in their thinking. So gender is very expansive and the world is changing and our language is changing. So I just want to mention that. And then the last thing is this, this could be triggering. Like anytime we're talking about sexual behavior in children, it can be triggering. So take care of yourself. If you need help, please reach out to me. I'm happy to support you. I've got tons and tons of resources. And so when we get to the end of this, we'll do Q&A. Please plop them in the chat as we go along and I'll scroll back and check them out. I'm recording, so you'll get the recording when I have the moment to do it, which will be later today or tomorrow. Let me see if there's anything else. So I do just want to acknowledge one thing about BIPOC kids, so Black, Indigenous, people of color kids. They are oftentimes seen as being more sexual than other kids, Black boys in particular. And so I just want to mention this, and BIPOC girls sometimes. I'm mentioning this because when you're seeing kids engaging in sexual behavior, I just want you to be mindful of that because it can also influence like how we see kids and also how we do that correcting. So I just want to mention that, and then let's do this thing. So as I promised, I'm going to teach you how to correct a child's behavior if they're engaging in some kind of sexual behavior. The good news is you can use this, you can practice with this on kids are doing normal naughty stuff. So I really believe in that because it helps you get your like your feet under you. So if you do find a pair of kiddos playing doctor or having a penis meeting, then you'll be able to kindly and firmly and effectively correct their behavior. So here we go. So this is called PDNA, and I borrowed it from Conscious Discipline, which is a parenting school of thought. I was at an AUIC conference and I took their class and I was like, bing, 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 I need this. So I have to give them full credit. I have tweaked it to suit my needs. So I'm going to go through the acronym and then I'm going to give you the actual words to use. And then I'm going to pick it apart after I give you the actual scripting. And then I'm going to send you with the recording, I'll send you my full handout on sexual behavior in children, so you'll see the correction there and how to do it. Okay, so the first thing is this. Pause. So before you correct the behavior, you need to pause. And the easiest way to pause is, join me, to take a breath. So that's the P, pause. The next thing is you are going to describe the behavior you're seeing. When you describe the behavior, you need to be really accurate. You can't say, oh, hey, I see your pants are down. You need to say like specifically what you see happening. And I'm going to give you an example in just a second. So you need to describe what you're seeing. You need to name, this is the end part, two things. You need to name how you're feeling, which tells the kids the impact they're having on you. And then the rule, which like there is a rule about, do we look at each other's privates? No, we don't. Okay, the rule. And then the last thing is you'll need to take some kind of action and to have the kids take some kind of action. So there's two parts to this. There's what you're going to do and there's what you're going to do with the kids. Alrighty, so that is the PDNA. And like I said, you can use this to correct any behavior. I really strongly encourage you to do that. So you can, again, like if you stumble across a penis meeting or somebody's playing midwife or whatever, then you can kindly, you're ready, like you know how to use it. It feels good, like you got it in your bones. All right, so here is an example. First thing, this is another way to think about it. Okay, so let me get it. Let's do a scenario. I love a good penis meeting. So we'll use a penis meeting. So some of you are familiar with penis meeting in my life. Was not my penis meeting. So here's the scenario. Two boys, two penis havers. They're 5 and they, well, the story is that one of my friends called me and she said her kid said to her, when she said, how was your day? He said, you know, today at our penis meeting. So we're going to use penis meeting. So pretend you stumble upon, I've just stumbled upon two little people having a penis meeting. So the first thing I'm going to do is exhale, gather myself. So then this is the script. Are you ready? Here we go. So I would say, I see you're looking at each other's penises. Right. You're looking at each other's penises. Here's the name. I feel uncomfortable when this happens. The rule is it's not okay and it's not safe. Behind. It's not okay and not safe to play this way. Look at me, I'm like way ahead of myself to play this way. So then to take the take action piece is let's go wash hands, or you can say, I need you to go and wash your hands. The other action piece is about you and figuring out what are you going to do next. So in this scenario, and generally speaking, when it's a kid to kid thing, I would obviously tell another coworker, and then you need to have a really simple conversation with the kiddos about, have you played this way before? Whose idea was it? Have you played this way with anybody else? And you have to be like, hey, what time is it? And like super chill and super calm, because we don't want the kids to feel ashamed or the behavior to go underground. So let's pick this apart a little bit. So the first thing is this. The biggest and most important thing is for you to mind your tone. Tone is what's shaming. So if I stumbled upon the penis meeting havers and I said, I see you're looking at each other's penises, and I'm all intense and weird, then that's going to tell the kids there's something wrong with them. So you really want to mind your tone. So I want to pick this apart. So the first thing is you'll notice that a whole lot of these are I statements. The reason they're I statements is because I statements are connecting. So when you say, like if I said to you, essentially, you are looking at each other's penises, this is not okay for you to do, you're making me uncomfortable, that is not connecting. So when we use I statements, it's connecting. So again, I'm really specific, like what are you doing? You're looking at, or if there was touching, you're touching, right? You need to say specifically, because if you're not specific, they're not going to really understand what's going on. This sometimes makes people uncomfortable. So I want to talk about it. So when you use a feeling word, and the only feeling word you're allowed to use is uncomfortable, it communicates to the kids that their behavior is having an impact on you. And so you may be feeling completely freaked out, undone, terrified, mad, like a million and one things. If you say any of those things to a kid, they're going to feel bad. So we don't want them to feel bad, especially in early childhood, when absolutely, like I would say 80, 90%, even 95% of this kind of behavior, it's called sex play, is completely innocent. So we don't want to like be mean about it, because then if something something yucky's happening, they're going to be way less likely to confide in any adult because they think they're going to get in trouble. So the I feel is uncomfortable. It's just communicating to them that their behavior is having an impact. And the next thing, I should get my red marker out. Okay, so then you're going to name the rule. So, and the rule is, you can say that, or you can just say it's not okay. So here, I'm going to give y'all a little gift here. I'll just write on the back of this. Oh, I can't spell this right. I think I have too many P's. I have other skills, and you probably can't even read that. My New Year's resolution was to clean up my handwriting. I think only one P, right? Anyway, stop using the word inappropriate. Kids don't know what it means. It's just gobbledygook, and it's really hard to get it out of your mouth. So I am on a inappropriate, like, stop saying that to kids. They don't get it. It's a grown-up word. So instead, say not okay. So while you're sitting there, wherever you're sitting, why don't you just go ahead and whisper or say inappropriate? Just say it, inappropriate. Now say not okay. Do you see the difference? And one of the reasons, the other reason to do this is that it's easier on you. It's easier for you to get those words out of your mouth. And kids know when something's not okay, right? They get that. So stop it. All right, and then the next thing is this not safe, right? It's not okay and it's not safe, right? Because it is not safe to play games with privates. Kids can get hurt when they play games with privates. They are a tender and sensitive part of your body, and they're not for sharing, right? The reason you need to say not okay and not safe, and be really clear about that, is because if they don't hear that from a trustworthy adult, if somebody tries to mess with them and they haven't gotten that clear message, and they should be getting that message anyway, then they're going to be more likely to be taken advantage of, and also less likely to tell. And then this piece, to play this way, kids usually see this as a game. So those penis meeting boys, they were having a penis meeting. It was just a game. It was just a thing they did. The other piece around the play is that whatever they're doing, it looks like play. So they're playing doctor, they're playing midwife. You know, the penis meeting, that went on, that was repeaty, but most adults with penises don't have penis meetings. Like, hey, let's have our penis meeting and then get down to work. It's not a thing. And of course, people have vulva conventions as well. All right, the action piece. So I need you to feels like that's technically what you should say, but it just feels kind of harsh to me. So if you just really casually say, okay, let's go wash hands. Or you can say, hey, if something is like, whoa, like scary, and you know it's sexualized and you're like, oh crap, this is not okay. Then you can still say, you can say, hey, let's go wash hands, or hey, let's go find something else to do. Child A, why don't you go play blocks? And child B, why don't you hang out with me for a minute? And you got to be like, hey, this is like so cool and easy, even if you might be like in a complete panic state. I'm watching my time. Okay, so that is the kind of nutshell version of this script. The thing I like about it is that it's simple and you can practice it. Normally, if we were in a big group together, I would have you pair up and practice. And we don't have enough time. I could stick you in breakout rooms, but I'm not going to do that. I just want to say a couple other things about the behavior correction. If you encounter kids and you are like, holy mother of God, like this is not good, like whatever's happening. And it could be an individual kid, maybe just like pushing on people and rubbing on people, and they're kind of aggressive about it and not, they won't stop, like it's a repeat behavior, or just, some of this is, super technical, but it's just a vibe. You're like, oh, that doesn't feel right. What was I? I forgot, lost my train of thought. Sorry. Just be aware that you may just flip, right? Because it is really upsetting. And I know some of you have probably encountered this, to see kids that are doing something adult-like. So if you get all big and you're like, what the minute you catch yourself freaking out, take a breath, shut up. I actually sometimes recommend just turning around to kind of reset yourself. And then when you can take a breath and calm down, then just say, oh, I am so sorry. I yelled at you. I was just so surprised to see you, doing this specific thing. And then you can go into the script. So if you have this moment where you're like, doing this specific thing, doing like touching each other's penises, and then you go into the whole, I feel uncomfortable and the rule is, and all of that. So, don't beat yourself up if you flip out. Don't just remember you can repair. And even if you're like, whoa, and you can't come back down and you're the only one on the scene that can manage like whatever the hell's happening, even then, if you get all weird and mean, which again, totally understandable, even if you go through the whole thing and you're still like, it's not okay or safe to play this way, let's go wash hands. After you can just repair and say, I am really sorry. I was so surprised. I was worried. I felt uncomfortable. I was worried somebody might get hurt, right? Kids can relate to that. And again, we're using a non-shaming tone. We're really cool. We're really chill. And then, take a breath again. So one of the things I love about doing the big training for organizations is that then everybody's on the same page, right? So you might be the only one in your organization that's getting this information right now. And so when you have somebody else, and you can, of course, like you can share the video and stuff with your people, but when y'all have that common language, it makes it easier to communicate. But no matter what, if you have a situation when you've corrected behavior, of course you need to tell whoever your boss person is, or if you're the boss person. And then you need to talk about like, what are the next steps going to be? When we catch kids, I'm going to say one more thing and then I want to take questions. So when this happens with kids, you always need to tell the parents, right? And so it's really important to be really clear about what happened, to not talk to them until you've done your little bit of like, whose idea was this? If it's something that we expect, they usually like, it was their idea. And, trusting your gut about whether or not it was adult-like and that kind of thing. And then you need to talk with the parents. So make sure you have a plan about how you're going to handle that. And then we're moving forward, right? So one last thing, and I want to do questions. So remember, you can pop it in the chat. And there's a few enough of you that will switch to gallery and you can just ask. Oh my God. I have menopause. It's not very fun. Oh crap. I can't remember what I was saying. Oh, well, it'll come to me. Thank you for your patience. And this is free, so I don't have to be super professional. Anyway, so before we do Q&A, I gotta say the thing. If you'd like the long version of this, if you think this is something that would help your people, I have a whole training called Preschoolers, Private Parts, and Playmates, where we go dig into all of this stuff. Depending on how long you want or can afford, it's between $450 and $1,500. Includes a recording and handouts and all that good stuff. So that's the long version. Okay. And when you get the recording from me, just ping me back. Just send me an email right back and we can set up a time, or you can connect me with whoever it is so we can chat about if this even makes sense for your people. All right. Okay. Let's do Q&A. And I'm going to switch us. I'm going to take the spotlight off of me. Is that how that works? All right. Okay, so I've got a cue here. I love the uncomfortable for I statements. I've struggled teaching them because they seem to give the child responsibility for the parents' feelings. What age might you start expanding uncomfortable to other emotions? Certainly adults can use more sophisticated feeling words, but when can we start making this shift? I think when kids are about, like, you're never gonna say inappropriate again. Right. But I think when the kids are older, like 8, 9, when you can say, I feel uncomfortable and I'm worried about this because I know that kids can get hurt when they play this way. So you can add in, I'm worried. You don't ever want to say I'm mad, but I think you can say I'm uncomfortable and I'm a little worried. I want to make sure you're safe. So you can expand on that. And again, I don't know how many times I can say, mind your tone, mind your tone. Mind your tone. So does that help? I'm going to assume yes. So if you would like to ask a live question, feel free to unmute yourself or let me see ya. And that will help. I think we've got a few more minutes, so 10 minutes. And also just anything about sexual behavior in kids, because I'm wide open. Or even better, if you have a scenario, that would be great, because it's nice to hear different people's perspectives. So you can put it in the chat, or just say to me, hey, Rachel, you gonna talk to me?
Hi, Amy. Yes. So I have a scenario that was shocking, needless to say. So we have a 5.5-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son, and um, they're both very curious, very close friends, and they've been cooped up together during this quarantine. So they've gotten really, really close, and they got extremely close about a month ago when I was taking a nap and my husband was working in his office. They were supposed to be having room time, but they got out of their rooms, and um, my daughter went to her brother's room, and her underwear came off,
Mm-hmm.
and he was looking at her anus,
Mm-hmm.
getting his nose like right up there,
Uh-huh.
and then like touching and not putting anything in it. Um,
Excellent.
but we only know this because we have security cameras, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just, um, it looked adult like, but
Yeah.
they were clearly playing
Yeah.
because it had started from them playing with the dollhouse,
Yes.
and then they were playing Doc McStuffins,
Uh-huh.
and then like trap me and I can't get out,
Mm-hmm.
and then we heard our daughter say, "Ow!" And then he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and she said, "No, it's okay. It feels good."
Oh, great.
So,
It's like, no, thank you.
um,
So many levels. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, thoughts?
Um, so, um, so the fact that it was framed as play is really important, right? Because in their heads, that's what was going on. Um, so and you talked about like how it happened, and I'm not a super fan of cameras in kids rooms, but sometimes I am. So that kind of how that all happened makes kid sense. Like we have to put our kid hat on to kind of see what maybe they were thinking. And so buttholes are hilarious, right? That is just their nature when you're 3 to 5. So my guess is it just turned into him like checking it out. And then touching makes sense, right? Because we just touch other parts of our bodies. They're really close. And then her saying, ouch, that hurts. And him saying, oh, I'm so sorry. Love that. But then the problem is, right? Her saying, no problem. Right now it feels good. So the push pull here is that, yeah, it does feel good to have your privates touched, right? And oh, no, not okay, right? Not safe, right? So a couple of things. I just, of course, want to know like what you did afterwards when you found out. Like what kind of conversations did you have?
Yeah, so my husband was the first one to find out what happened, and he was very taken aback and shocked, and has not been listening to your podcast, unfortunately. So he did maybe a little overreacting, but not shaming,
Good.
just kind of like, oh my gosh, okay, like freak out.
Yeah.
But then we came together and just quickly, went over. First of all, it's room time. Y'all are supposed to be
Right.
in the rooms.
Right.
That's our rule. So don't, shouldn't do that. And we've laid the groundwork and told them about their private zones, and that
Mhm.
private zones mean private. It's just for you.
Yeah.
And especially, and I contacted you about my son. He's the one who's really interested in butts.
Oh,
And
right. Right.
yeah,
Right.
you responded, and it was so helpful. But he's continued to just want to explore
Okay.
his and others.
Okay.
Um, and so we just reminded him like it's not safe to touch other people's private zones, even if they give you permission.
Right.
That is not okay. Like
Yeah. And
it's
is he
just you
three?
could get hurt.
He's
He
three,
is.
right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
not quite cognitively able to like
No.
hang his hat on that.
Right.
So you sounds like you handled it beautifully. So there's a book called It's My Body. Do you have that book?
Yes.
So
We don't have it, but we checked it out from the library, and oh my gosh, he loves that book.
exactly, right?
The pictures.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So for those of you who aren't familiar, this book reeks 1982 when it was written, but
Yeah.
it's lovely. It's not creepy. It's not scary. It gives a script to practice with. So I would do that. I would also get, It's So Amazing because they've got really good anatomy
Yeah.
pictures. So you can just say, dude, here is where we look at buttholes, right? Like, like here you go.
Okay.
And then you're going to need to keep a little more of an eye on him, I think. And
Oh
also
yes.
empower, your 5-year-old can get like, this is not okay. We don't share privates. You know that you're going to need to help your brother. And the reason you can say to her,
Mhm.
the reason is because kids can get hurt when they play this way.
Yes.
And then you're going to add, and every adult and older kid knows this. We don't play games with privates.
Right. Yes. I've definitely been saying that a lot.
Good, good. Yeah. You're just gonna have to keep it up. And then yeah, and if he is getting like if by 4 he can't keep his poop in a group around this, he might need a little therapeutic reorganization. So just let me
Yeah.
know what's going on. But he's 3. They're like, thank God he's not 2. They're almost impossible. Yeah,
Yes.
3, right? So you're gonna get there with him, is
Hmm.
my guess.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I
Oh
appreciate
yeah,
it.
thank you. I love a good scenario. Oh, thank you, Amy Williams. Yeah, uncomfortable children's prevention. Yeah, it's called, yes, thank you, Reeks of 1987. That's a good one too. Yeah, I really like that book a lot. Another book is C is for Consent, and they're all on my website, birdsandbeesandkids.com, so you can find them there. All right, thank you. That was a good one. What else we got? I love a good little scenario. And if you're feeling shy or you can't talk, you can put it in the chat. And also just remember you're helping other people. And I know this is hard to talk about, but the more we talk about it, the less like the crappy stuff's going to happen. This is one of the biggest problems with child sexual abuse, is that it is such a big secret, as I know all of you know, right? I mean, unfortunately, it is a really shitty fact of life. So if there's anything that that any little scenario you want to check out, I'll try and think of another one. Like, I'm full of scenarios. Well, one thing I just want to talk about briefly is how much time kids are spending online, and even little kids. So if you're in a position of power within your organization, you really need to talk with your parents about using monitoring and parental controls. The rate of pornography exposure is increasing, and the age is decreasing. And one of the pushbacks from parents is that they think my kid would never, and they would. Like, I would have been Googling sex in a heartbeat. I think I probably was the minute we had the Googler. So just letting parents know, and how that's related to this is that kids' sexual behaviors are starting to escalate because they're getting exposed. And so parents think, oh, it couldn't possibly happen. But it can, and it has been, and it does. And it happens innocently. So part of having this particular script is you can use it if they're looking at stuff online that's not safe. It kind of works the same way. And the sooner families are having these like digital rules, the more it's normal in their family life. And you want it to be like, this is how we roll. Like, there's no free ranging on the internet. Like, no, that's not a thing. So anyway, I'm just on this horse about this because it's making me crazy. And I'm not going to tell you about the consultations I've been doing, because I will traumatize you. All right, let's take a breath. Okay. Oh, thank you, Valerie. Yeah, around what age does it change from innocent sexual curiosity to more deliberate sexual interest? So so the curiosity never goes away, right? That's always there. Looking for more sexual stimulation, and kind of tapping into those parts of a person that are, having sexual attraction. That usually kind of gets really like, I'm going to say normally rolling right in those first like puberty starts and then a person is in puberty, that's when most kids start having like more adult-like sexual feelings and interests in that sort of thing. Now, remember, not everybody is going to be interested in sex. Not everybody has that, has sexual curiosity or sex drive or whatever. Everybody's individual. And also kids, humans and kids have different levels of interest. So if you have a kiddo that is super interested, like lots of questions, really curious, I would just keep tabs on them because they're going to be way more likely to Google, and they may, I'm just making stuff up, they may actually also be a little more advanced in terms of that sort of more like adult-like sexual interest and curiosity. So, you can't tell by looking, but you can tell by a kid's behavior. So I hope that helps. And again, tons of sexuality education is so important, especially from their trustworthy adults, their, whoever parent, that sort of thing, because that's what is going to fill that curiosity bucket. They'll be less likely to look for stuff online. So thank you for asking that. Okay, we're at 11:31. I'm going to officially wrap up. I'm going to stick around if you have more questions. So again, practice this script with non-sexual behavior, so you get it in your bones. And then the next one of these little quickies is on March 18th. I'm going to be talking about preschooler behavior, like what we can expect, what's healthy, what's typical. It's really like 2 to 5-year-olds. So if you want to come play, please join me. And yeah, so bye if you need to go, bye-bye. And I will send the recording eventually today or tomorrow. And if you have more questions or you want to chat with me about scheduling a longer event for your organization, that's the place to ask. All right. Thank you, Rhonda. Yeah, there's always more to learn, right? There's always more to learn. So I'll just take a few more minutes if there's anything that's hanging over on your mind, like, oh, it doesn't have to be about the script. It can be about anything. If you have a scenario with a kid, or even something that happened in the past. Sometimes when I'm teaching, back before, in the before times when I could be in a classroom of human beings, people would ask about events that happened like in the past. And I think one of the important reasons to do that is A, we can always learn more. Thank you, Rhonda. And B, it's helpful for people to have that example. And also, sometimes I think it can be healing if we think we've messed up. This stuff is hard, no matter how you slice it. And if you have an abuse history, it makes it even harder. So, I really just want to encourage you to practice being open. Oh, hi. Are there any sexual connotation on video games like Fortnite? I have no idea. I would assume so. I feel like they're all full of fake, sexy women. The thing you do want to watch for is that kids can access the internet through gaming. And so those need to be locked down. Parental controls need to be installed, and conversations about talking to strangers, for sure, because grooming can happen there. So I have no idea. Does anybody know? Is there like full-on sexual like business happening on Fortnite? I hardly even know what it is. Milo played Minecraft or something. I can't even remember. He's 19 now. Okay, I'll pause. I'll drink some water. All right. Oh, grandsons live far and don't have communication. Good. Yeah, it's a tough one. I think just setting yourself up as a person and saying to them, hey, you know what, if you ever have any questions about anything that's like feeling weird in your life, or you've seen something weird online, you can always tell me. I'll help you figure it out. You won't be in trouble. And just extending that to them. And depending on how old they are, you could also say, and if you have questions about sex and relationships, I can help you. We'll figure it out. Oh, thank you, Rubina. They're sexy figures called skins. Oh God, that's awful. Sorry. We're all going to hell in a handbasket. Okay. Talking to my 11-year-old about tampons, and my 9-year-old was listening in. Then she asked if she could try one. Should I discourage this? The 9-year-old or the 11-year-old? The 9-year-old? No. Just tell her that her body, unless she's in puberty, right? So if she's got breast buds, that means her period is about 1.5 years out. What I would say to her is like, okay, tampons are a miracle, but you know, when you're young and you're just having your period, people use pads for a while until they get kind of used to having their period, and then you know, a little later, your body needs to be a little bit bigger. This is my opinion, and so you can try it out like later. You can do that, or you can say, yeah, we can get some teeny tiny tampons and you can try it, but you know, you don't really need to. You can wait, and then kind of like see what she thinks. It's not going to hurt her to put a tampon in there, but it could, because it's just not, the vag is just not quite ready to have anything in there, right? Okay. Good, close to what you said. Okay, something in the past. Okay, thank you. In the past, my son and his female cousin, ages 7 and 5 respectively, were found naked together by my sister. My son had asked a lot of questions about sexuality, and I think he was experimenting. I never knew how to address that, and it still haunts me. Yeah, it was about 12 years ago. So thank you for asking. So he was probably trying to figure it out. Like oftentimes kids, not oftentimes, sometimes when kids get this information, they will, he was 7, oh yeah, they will maybe try to make a baby, and usually it's within that like game thing. So they might have been playing family, and then it's like, oh, we should make a baby, and so there might have been putting some bodies together. Usually you know, the fact that they were naked, like he maybe knew that, and so you know, this is, yes, it is like really, like I understand why you're freaking out about it, but I don't think it doesn't mean anything about him. My guess is he was just practicing. And if she didn't seem particularly upset or traumatized, and he seemed like, okay, like maybe, you know, if your sister freaked out, then there might be a little bit of trauma and shame around that. I mean, I would have freaked out. So I think you can probably let this go. How old is your kiddo? 12 years. So he's 19. So he's old enough where you could say, hey, do you remember when this happened? What do you think about that? Or what was that like for you? And see what he does. I have a 19-year-old at my house. So he might be able to talk about it. And also, if anything else was going on, it might be an opening for him. And you can just say, you know, you're not in trouble. I'm just curious. I just took this class. And, you know, I feel weird about how he handled it. Throw that in there and see what he does with it. And he may say, I have no idea what you're talking about. And you can say, really? Because I thought it was kind of a big deal. He's like, I got nothing, sister. And you know your kid, you can tell if they're BSing you. So kind of lots of options, and you know, this happens. And for those of you who have children, do not let this deter you from talking to them about sexuality. This happens occasionally. It's not a regular occurrence. So you don't use this as an excuse to avoid the sex talks. Okay. And then Meg, if you have more questions, why don't you send me an email, and we can chat more. I'm happy to help you sort this. Okay, do tell them if they call us feeling upset. Younger, 11, is less communicative. How can I ask him about sex? So you can just say to him, hey, you're getting older now, you know, do you have any books about like sex or puberty or any of that? And just be super chill and see what he says. And then you can say, you know, it's really normal to feel uncomfortable talking about sex and relationships, but it's a really important part of life. So I just want you to know I'm here for you if you have questions. And then if his OPA can also say, yeah, I remember when I was in puberty and blah, 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 just to kind of normalize, or just like questions, and then stop talking and see what they do around that. So just that openness is really important because they need to know that you're there for them. Okay, we got 2 minutes. Anybody who's been a little shy, I'll just ask you to take some space. Take some space. Still waters run deep. I'm phenomenally extroverted, and I'm always delighted with what happens with my introverted people. Y'all are way smarter than me and calmer. Okay, just putting this out there as a reminder of how big an impact shaming a child for age-appropriate sexual behavior can have. When I was 6, my friend who was 5, also a girl, kissed me while lying down in the closet. My sister was at 11 at the time. She walked in, freaked out, ran to get my mom. She freaked out, sent my friend home, and forbade us to play together again. It has taken years for me to feel comfortable as a sexual being, and that incident definitely laid the groundwork. Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Like thank you. That is like such a good example of how the freaking out can just you know, I'm not going to say ruin, but really like damage a kid's sense of themselves as a human. And then later, as you got older, when you put the, you know, you probably put two and two together, like attaching your shame around just being curious, you know, attaching shame to around being curious. So I'm glad you're feeling better. Full disclosure, exact same thing happened with me, except I was fooling around with a neighbor who was a boy. Same thing. Dad yelled, shamed, sent me home, and I don't remember playing with those kids again. So yeah, common. Don't be those adults. Yeah, I am so sorry about this shame. And you have nothing to be ashamed of. It was totally typical. I know you know that, but it's hard to move through. I know. Hard to move through. Okay, on that note, let's wrap her up. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I should have been doing these sooner. I totally love teaching in bits and pieces. I know you're all overwhelmed with all kinds of crazy business. So I would actually suggest that you watch this again. If you can take a breath, just the beginning part, watch the script again. Feel free to share it with your coworkers or friends. And then one last little request from you. If you are involved, I do, you all know, I do classes for parents. So if you're doing any parent education, I'd be delighted to hear from you about offering a class to your parents. I have one that's the Birds and Bees for parents of preschoolers. It's about bodies and boundaries. And of course, classes for parents of older kids. So thank you. Thank you so much. I really hope you have a great day. And if you're watching the recording, I hope you have a great whatever rest of your day. And hang in there. This will end all of this isolation. Someday we can be in a room together. All right. Again, questions and you're shy, just email me back. Okay. Thanks so much, y'all. Have a good rest of your day.